this should be a fun segment as Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City joins us here on a Monday. What's going on, Michael?
Hey, guys, how are you?
All is well, and, I was away for 10 days. The Phillies, they were in panic mode. I came back. I think they're like 8 games up, so nothing really changed. But it seems that what hasn't changed is the Phillies fans like to complain about stuff, and yesterday was something. They wanted pinch hitters in the 9th inning. Rob Thompson said, nope, day off. How do you see what happened yesterday?
Well, I see what happened yesterday as just baseball in the year, 2023 or 2024.
Or 2024, Mike.
Is, right? 2024. That's just the way it is. I mean, they have 13 games coming up, 7 against the Braves, the other 6 against the Astros and the Royals, who would be playoff teams. Bryce Harper's not going to get a day off during those 13 games. JT Realmuto, I would say, will probably catch 12 of the 13 games. They wanted to give those players back-to-back days off. And I think what people have to understand is a couple things. I think, A, they say, well, why couldn't Harper just grab a bat and go up there and pinch hit in the 9th inning? That's not what happens. If Bryce Harper is told that there's a chance that he's going to be pinch hitting, he is going to be in the cage from about the 3rd or 4th inning on, taking hundreds of swings, getting ready for that at-bat in the 9th inning. JT Realmuto, the same thing. And anybody who thinks, now I have no inside information or reporting here, but anybody who thinks that Rob Thompson made this decision solely by himself, that this decision was not made in conjunction with the Phillies sports science department, or Dave Dombrowski in the front office, just don't know the way professional sports teams are run in the year 2024.
Yeah, Mike, that's the big thing. You just kind of said it, like in conjunction and collaboration. Bob and I were talking about in the open, and we wonder, like, is this a day where it's like, guys, you're off today no matter what. You're off. You're not pinch hitting. Don't get your mind, like, grinding, ready to go. You're just taking the day off, and it's about the big picture, which is what Rob said after the game. So is that a acceptable – I know you're saying that's the way baseball is in 2024, but should the Phillies be going for it? Hey, we have a chance to win a game, and it's that important based on we need to get that number 1 seed. We don't want to get in a wild card bracket. Should they reconsider that thought?
Well, I mean, look, old-time baseball, it's great. When I was growing up, Bryce Harper would have hit. JT Realmuto would have hit right there. But that's just not the way the game is played today. That's not the way these organizations think. It's the same thing with the NBA when you go there and a guy's off for load management and things like that. And who's to say that, okay, it might have cost you a game yesterday? And by the way, we're making a lot of assumptions here, right? Like, we're assuming that Realmuto and Harper come up and get hits or hit home runs so they win the game. And we're brushing aside one big concern here. You were up 2-0 in the game. You tied the game on back-to-back home runs from Marsh and Stott to make it 4-4. How about your bullpen comes in and doesn't gag it up right away? The other guys are perfectly capable of winning a game here. I just think to sort of complain about it is just not being aware of the way baseball and all professional sports are run today, basically.
Hey, Mike, good to talk to you. And look, I think that where I kind of come in on this is if it's May 4th, it's May 5th, you say, look, it's a long year, it's about October, and I know that they've kept that mentality, but I think that the frustration really comes from the fact that they've played so poorly for 5, 6, almost 7 weeks now. You have an opportunity to complete a sweep. You have an opportunity to really continue the momentum into the Atlanta series. And to me, it's like you want to save yourself for down the stretch, but now we are in that stretch, and that's what I kind of thought was curious about it. And they were aggressive enough that they went to Strahm and they went to Hoffman and they used their best relievers, but yet then when the opportunity presents itself, there was no ability to adapt in the moment. Like, why not leave the door open? You're right. Look, it is a multi-inning process to get Bryce Harper ready for an at-bat. It's just strange to me that they were sort of all in some respects, but not in others. And to me, that was an important game yesterday. And when you look at the big picture and the way that the standings materialized and the way that the National League has come back to the Dodgers and the Brewers, to me, it's like you have an opportunity here. Take a shot. It's not like you're asking the guy to go out there and catch 10 innings. You're talking about a pinch hit in the 9th inning.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that point, and I can actually see both sides of that point. I can see that you've got a chance to go for a sweep. you've got a chance to take a lot of momentum into this 13-game stretch to go into Atlanta on a high note. They would probably counter with the fact that, if they sat those guys, they were going to go 4-2 on the homestand was the worst they were going to do. They had won the series from Washington, taken the first 3 games of the series. So they might have looked at it and said, and I'm not saying it's right or it's what I favor, but they might have looked at yesterday's game as, just an okay game, right? That they had already accomplished on the homestand and the series what they wanted to accomplish, and they obviously came to the conclusion that resting Real Muto and Bryce Harper would be better than having them come up in the 9th inning again there. And again, I say this, just because Harper and Real Muto don't pitch hit in the 9th, just because they don't play, go beat the Nationals. I mean, Taijuan Walker gives up the 2-0 lead. Yep. Then they tie the game. And Strahm and Hoffman, who, are raising some concerns now, they don't get it done right. And there's nothing to say that Cal Stevenson or Garrett Stubbs can't get a hit in the 9th inning, basically. So I understand the fans' frustration. I understand what the Phillies did. There are sometimes I agree with you, Bob. I think you've got to sell out to win a game, a regular season game. You have a big comeback, you get the lead. An example of that game was the Wednesday night against the Marlins. Once Schwarber hit that grand slam and put you up a run, at that point, with the way the Phillies were playing, I think it's all hands on deck. You have to sell out to win that game like it's a playoff game. I didn't think yesterday's game rose to the same level of urgency, basically.
Well, what's interesting to me, because, obviously everybody wants to talk about Rob Thompson. It's an easy thing to talk about. My big takeaway from yesterday wasn't even Taijuan Walker, because he gave you exactly what he always gives you, which is not much. But to me, if this is about October and it's about getting to the finish line, you need Matt Strahm. You need Jeff Hoffman. You need Jose Alvarado. These 3 guys have to be locked in. I'm kind of curious about what you're seeing from – I guess let's start with Strahm and Hoffman, because these guys are all-stars. We know that Alvarado's sort of been going through it now for about 2 months. He's not striking anybody out. He's been very hittable. I think actually the last 2 months, opponents are hitting almost 300 against him. But what are you seeing with Strahm and Hoffman right now? Because if these 2 don't work come October, this thing doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 110% on that. And I agree, Mike said something earlier on, and I think it's fair right now. We're not in April. We're not in May. We're not in June. We're not in July. We're in late August. There's about 40 games left. I think it's fair to sort of take a look almost on a daily basis and say, does this team have what it takes to get it done in the postseason? And right now, I am very concerned about the bullpen. I don't have a lot of faith in Kirkring. I don't have any faith in Alvarado. I'm worried about Strahm and Hoffman, and I'm worried about Estevez. I'm not, he hasn't looked too great since he's come over, and I think there's a big difference between getting the final 3 outs for the Los Angeles Angels near Disneyland out there when you're 30 games under 500 and getting 3 outs in Philadelphia in September in the playoffs. I'm concerned about this bullpen. Hoffman has given up a lot of home runs, not a lot, but he's given up 5 for the season, 3 this month, and with Strahm, it's an inability to throw strikes. He comes in, walks the guy yesterday. When he's gotten in trouble, it's because he hasn't been able to command his pitches. So it's the sort of command of the slider for Hoffman, and it's also Strahm's control, which is not what it was early in the season, or at least not as consistent as it was early in the season. And right now, when I look at the Phillies bullpen, and I say to myself, can that bullpen get you through October? I have my doubts with the way they're pitching. They've got to fix that bullpen, and it's the guys who are out there that got to fix it. Now, the one back card they might have for that bullpen, and we'll see what happens with Ranger Suarez, but, you might be able to live with Nola, Wheeler, and Sanchez starting games in the playoffs and have Suarez as sort of a swing guy in there if that bullpen doesn't come together.
You just took my next question, Mike. That's exactly where I was going. I wonder if there's a world where Spencer Turnbull starts a 4th game, if they can get him healthy the last couple of weeks of September, see what he has, if they don't try to piece together a bullpen game and a potential game 4 and then swing Suarez to a bullpen spot.
We'll get into that a little bit more. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, but right now, you're in a playoff game, right? And it's, like a game like yesterday. It's 4-3 in the 5th inning, and you got to come in and you got to get a lefty out, and you got to get to a tough pocket of the lineup. Who are you turning to in that bullpen to get you through the fifth and sixth inning of a game where the starter doesn't have it. And is it Kirkring? No way. Is it Alvarado? No way. Is that a little too early for Strom and Hoffman, who I'm both worried about? Suarez, it'll be interesting to see if they kind of use Suarez, if he comes back healthy, if they use him like they used him in 2022 as opposed to last season.
I'd like to get both your takes on this one, but Mike, I'll start with you. John Middleton says, quote, I don't think you can just sit there and say, oh, well, this has happened and therefore we'll turn it around. I don't think you can be that passive, he continued. I think you have to be pushing people to rethink what they've been doing. That's coaches, that's players. Everyone has to step back and say, what are we doing wrong? Why is this a team that was winning 700 clip for 3.5 months now, playing at a 325 clip for the last 5 weeks? Who's he taking a shot at there?
Well, I like his sense of urgency, right? I like what he's saying there from this perspective. Again, I'll go back to what I said a few seconds ago. This is not a slump in April, May, or early June. This is even July. This is late August. We're getting into September right now, and teams that do well in the postseason historically begin to pick it up this time of year. So I think it's a legitimate question to sort of look at this team on a daily basis and say, hey, do they have what it takes to get into the postseason, succeed in the postseason? And to me, I guess people are saying, is he taking a shot at the coaches there? Is he taking a shot at the players? I think he's just putting the whole organization on notice that, hey, this team is built to win the World Series. If this team doesn't get to the National League Championship Series, at a minimum, the season is a failure. If they don't get to the World Series, I believe the season is disappointing. I know once you get there, it's often the breaks of the game, a pitch here, a pitch here that could decide a short playoff series. But if this team's not in the NLCS, it's a major problem. If this team doesn't get to the World Series, it's a huge disappointment. I think what he's saying is this team's built to win right now, and people better act with that sense of urgency.
All right, Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City. Of course, he'll be back on Wednesday. The Phillies will be playing the Braves. Austin Riley, broken hand. He is done for the season. The Braves lose another key player, and they are in trouble of not making the wild card. That wild card has changed a bit since I've been gone. They were like 4 games up in the wild card. The last I looked, the Padres and Diamondbacks, who have been scorching hot, both passed the Braves. The Braves might be in a little problem of not even making the playoffs now, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Mike, we'll talk to you Wednesday, man.
All right, we'll see you guys down the road. Enjoy the day.